Good morning, y'all. I want to talk about the Naziah Harris case. I'm like, I'm truly like flabbergasted. I don't know if y'all been following the case, but it is insane to watch. What I have been seeing about this case, initially, I didn't really know much outside of the little girl went missing. But at this point, I'm like, I can't even sleep because I've been watching this case. And it's like her entire family, her grandmother, her aunt, failed her so bad. This child could have been alive and well today. She could have been here with us today. And they allowed a lot of this to happen. If y'all didn't hear about the Naziah Harris case, this is a 13-year-old from Detroit who went missing in January of 2024 after finding out that she was pregnant by a 41-year-old man who happened to be the baby father of her aunt who lived with her. And they wound up finding all kind of text messages and all kind of crazy stuff in all kinds of stuff when they went looking into the case. But her entire family failed her. They failed her. They allowed this man knowingly. So it turns out that everybody knew that that man was a registered offender. He had been a registered offender for years. He was in jail for having dealings with a 13-year-old prior to Naziah going missing. And yes, it is alleged that he had relations with his own child, one of his own children. Now, they knew all of this, and actually they're saying now too that the aunt who is the baby mother, this man's baby mother, she was actually not of age when she got pregnant by him. So the aunt who they knew that this man was an offender. They knew that this man had dealings with little girls, and they still had them around these kids. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, the little girl had been missing for hours. She was riding around with this man for hours before they actually contacted the police. Like, I'm so disgusted when I tell y'all this is why I don't trust people with kids. This is why y'all have to be extra careful with who y'all let around y'all kids, because this is the type of stuff that you don't know about. These grown adults knew that this man was dangerous, that he had dealings with children, and they still allowed him around this little girl and the rest of these kids. They knew that this man was, in fact, a registered offender. He had gone to jail for a year for having dealings with a 13-year-old. And y'all still, and then the way that the family was talking about this little girl, Naziah, was trying to make it appear as though she was in some way responsible for what happened to her. They were talking about her being sneaky. There was people saying she was fast. Like, how can a 13-year-old be fast with a 41-year-old man? Like, when I tell y'all, it makes me want to cry when I hear this story. It breaks my heart so bad to know that this little girl was failed and be even put in a situation. And to be quite frank, the grandmother, in my opinion, also is deeply involved in this because apparently the Naziah's mother had the same thing happen to her when she was 13, when she was Naziah's age, and that's why she doesn't have custody of her kids. Apparently, the grandmother, and this is what pisses me off so bad because I've been even listening to the podcast that had come out originally when Naziah first went missing, and people were defending the grandmother, saying that the grandmother would never allow anything like that to happen. Meanwhile, the grandmother literally allowed it to happen to her own child when her child was the same age as Naziah. And then you had this man in your house knowing that he got your daughter pregnant when she was 16 and had 5 kids with her, and he was a grown man. Like, I'm so disgusted with these people. And for me, I didn't realize just how deep this went because at first I felt bad for the grandmother. I'm not gonna lie. It felt like she didn't really know and that she was doing her best. Like, I had empathy for her. And then as I continued to listen to the story and I continued to watch the court case, the grandmother didn't do shit she was supposed to do. The grandmother actually didn't even call the police until the next day. She allowed this little girl to be missing for an entire night and did not go to do anything about it until the until the morning after the little girl had been missing. Meanwhile, if you listen to the case and the testimonies of the people who are witnesses, they literally said that this man was riding around with this little girl for hours the day before that night that she went missing. She was riding around going to people's houses while he's telling everybody this is his niece. He was riding around with this little girl. Had you gone to the police when you knew that something, when you originally knew that that little girl was missing, you could have saved her life. He was riding around with her for hours. For hours. He was going to people's house. He had that little girl in people's crib. He took the little girl to the shop. The little girl was around mad people. Everybody, all of the witnesses that came forth said that he was with her the last time that she was seen, which was on January 9th of 2024. Why didn't y'all call the police? Why would you wait until the next morning to call the police for your missing 12-year-old granddaughter? I would be wouldn't you be concerned immediately? Wouldn't you be concerned instantly if a 12-year-old, at the time she was 12, if a 12-year-old doesn't come home from school? Wouldn't you immediately think to yourself, something is not right about that? I need to do something. I need to call police now. I need to jump into action now. Not I'm gonna wait till the next morning, get dressed, and then go down to the school to try to find out where if they know what happened to my granddaughter, especially if you're saying this is not the typical behavior. Y'all are blowing, it's sending me. It's sending me. It's like, how do y'all allow shit like this to happen? And it's like, for me, it's insane because people are also protecting the grandmother. Her kids got on the live and was going off on everybody saying leave their mother alone. Your mother was responsible for that little girl. And to be quite frank, there's too many times in black families where people allow for somebody who they know is dangerous to children to still be around children. This is the story. And it's not just in black families, it's in all families. But this is a never-ending story. This is the story of families. These families allow people to be in spaces with children knowing that these people are not safe. I always think about how people used to say, go get dressed, go put on some more clothes because Uncle so and so is coming around, or Aunt so and so, whoever. Like, literally finding ways to keep these people around children instead of keeping them away from children. I think of all the moments where it's like, oh, Uncle so and so is not allowed in the house. Why is Uncle so and so allowed anywhere? If you know that that person is not safe and gives you weird, creepy vibes, auntie, uncle, whoever it is, why are they allowed around anyone at any time? Why aren't you discontinuing any relationship with them? And then got the nerve to call these little girls fast. Fast for being around somebody who's a grown adult and is being weird around a kid? Why are y'all so okay with that? It's so mind-blowing to me. And then will cover up secrets because they think that it makes them look less guilty. To me, you look insane. You allowed this predator to be around your child, to be around a child, to continue to be around children for months on end, years. It's they're saying that they believe that that man had been grooming that little girl since she was 10 years old. He's known her since she was 4. That is sick. That is sick. And for y'all to allow that man in that house, knowing good and goddamn well that he was a registered offender, is insane at any point. At any point. And the way that the aunt, that lady Shannon, was speaking, it's almost as though she sounded jealous of her niece. It's like she sounded jealous of the little girl for having a relationship with a relationship, because I don't personally believe that a 13-year-old can have a relationship with a grown ass 41-year-old man. You can't convince me. She sounded jealous of that little girl. And I don't understand how that was okay with the grandmother. And whether and people are talking about the mother not being around, whether or not the mother was around is not the problem, because you decided to raise this child, you adopted her, that makes her your child. It is your job to keep her safe. It is your job to keep her safe. It is insane to me that you allowed this to happen, knowing that your daughter had 5 kids with this registered offender. And it was said that he was doing it to his own daughter, his own child. So you knew that he was accused of abusing his own child, and you still allowed that man around your grandmother. The text messages between him and that little girl make my stomach turn. The text messages, I can't even talk about the text messages that were read in that courtroom, because when I tell you, it makes me want to throw up. The things that he was saying to that little girl, the things the conversations that he was having, the way he was talking to her as though she was a grown woman, make me sick. Make me sick. I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine. And it's just so appalling to me that that a family, the way that that family got on the stand at to testify as witnesses, and it felt like their main objective was to absolve themselves of any guilt. It literally, the way that the aunt spoke, the way that the grandmother spoke, the way that people were speaking was not, I want this child to be safe and to return home. It very much gave that I don't want to be accountable to any of this, so I'm trying to absolve myself of anything that I did. It very much gave that. And I don't I and power, and I give more power to the judge, because the way that she had to hold herself together during that entire trial, when you could tell that she was disgusted, that she was mind blown, that she was like, I could see it in a judge's face that she wanted to do physical harm. And the only people on that stand that were helpful was Jarvis's sister, the suspect's sister, the partner, what's his name, King, his son's aunt, and and I'll kind of give it to his baby mother, who came out and said that she thought it was weird too that he had them glasses in the car. And I felt every bit of and you could tell while they were on the stand, I felt every bit of their frustration. They were livid with the questions they were being asked. It was very much giving, I don't understand what you don't get. It very much gave the people who really did their thing. We're talking about Naziah Harris. The people who really got on the stand and did their thing, it very much gave, I don't understand what y'all don't get. Why are we having this conversation? What's this about? Because I can't, and the people who lived in the home didn't give that. The people in the home did not give that. The aunt that lived there, the grandmother that lived there, when they got on the stand, it didn't give that. And the original police officer that was sent out to do the original investigation, that big neck, big back, I can't even say what I want to say on here. For him to say that he didn't get any statements from the kids that he interviewed because he was retiring, for him to say that he didn't go through the little girl's locker because he was retiring and he was done and didn't want to do anything else, for him to say that he didn't have anything from his investigation because he was retiring and he didn't care. Retiring or not, if you hear that a 12-year-old is missing, if you hear that a 12-year-old is missing, who cares about retiring? Off of being a decent human being, off the strength of being a decent person. Forget being a cop. Forget being the person investigating the thing. Forget retiring. You hear a little girl is missing off the strength of being a decent human being. Do your fucking job, bro. You don't got no statements, no nothing. They don't have nothing from you to be able to support finding this little girl. And you talking about you was retiring? Nothing. You spoke to teachers, you alleged, you spoke to people at the school, you spoke to all these kids, you interviewed them, and you have no information because you were retiring. I feel like his pension should be taken from him immediately. I feel like he should be put in jail. What you mean I didn't do my job because I was retiring? Sir, you're still on the job. Let's even forget being a decent human being. You're still on the job. You're still retired or not, you're currently still on the job. You didn't do your job because you were over it and you were retiring? You're sick. This all of these people to me are sick. CPS is sick because they had all kind of CPS calls made on them and nothing was done. CPS to me is sick because there's still other children in that home. Shannon and the grandmother shouldn't have access to any children. They shouldn't be allowed to raise children because y'all did not care. Y'all didn't care. And the fact that the judge had to end the trial by saying that she was disgusted with the entire family and Jarvis is insane to me. Is insane to me. Y'all all everybody deserves jail time. I'm so disgusted. I'm when I tell you this case had me up all night. And the thing is, I haven't even been able to like sleep for real because this case has been nonstop on my mind. And I know she's been missing since January of 2024. And I personally feel like this didn't get enough national coverage because it feels to me like this case was very much kept in Detroit for the time that it was ongoing versus it being put out to the public so that other people could speak on it and it could have been investigated faster. I also feel like I can't understand how somebody could be missing for that long and people have not done what they needed to do. I listened to the podcast where people were getting on there, family members were getting on there and openly talking about how this kind of stuff had been happening for so long in their family and how the grandmother and the aunt and all kind of stuff, it was put out there and nobody did anything. She's been missing since January 9th of 2024. She's been missing since January 9th of 2024. I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted. Like, and the grandmother did not go to the matter of fact, she didn't even go to the police station at first. Let's be very clear. The grandmother got up, got dressed, went to the school to ask the school questions the day after she was missing. The grandmother got up and she didn't go until the day after. So the little girl didn't come home on January 9th. The lady went, the grandmother, who's the legal guardian, went to the school of that child on the January 10th. She didn't go to the school until January 10th. And to be clear, I don't know why you just went to the school. The school is the first place you should have started at on January 9th. The school then called the police down to the school, and the police came to the school and interviewed the grandmother, and then eventually went to the house. The grandmother did not go to the police until the following morning. You were going to let that little girl was missing the entire night. Even if she ran away, let's say that the child ran away. What reasonable person, what reasonable caregiver, what reasonable guardian will want their child outside in the street overnight, even if they ran away? Even if they ran away, my main concern would be that I want my child to be returned home safely. And a child at that age, at 12 years old, being outside at that time of night should have been enough for you to call the police immediately. You went to sleep. How do you sleep? I don't understand. I can never understand as a guardian. How do you sleep with your child not being home? How do you do that? I can't understand as a guardian, as someone who is raising a child, how do you sleep without your child being brought home at night? You went to bed. Y'all went to sleep in that crib. Put the rest of the kids to bed, went to sleep, woke up the next morning, and then decided to do something about it? Baby, they need to put them all under the jail. I don't care. I don't care. The grandmother, the aunt, they all need to go to jail. This is a collective effort. They all need to go to jail. They need to be placed in the jail because y'all didn't give a damn about that little girl. That little girl's life could have been saved. There's so many actions that people could have taken to save that little girl, and y'all all opted not to do anything. And it's a damn shame. And that little girl's life is now, because it's not likely she's alive. That little girl's life has been taken in vain. Y'all could have stopped it. He was riding around the city with that little girl like that was his girlfriend for hours. People placed him in the same space as that little girl for hours before she went missing. They were able to talk about how he was riding around and multiple people saw him with the little girl the last day that she was seen. And it's so sad to me. It's so sad that y'all waited to do anything about it while he was going to people's houses with that little girl, telling them that was his niece. While he was going to the shop with this little girl, he picked the little girl up. He was able to pick the little girl up from the bus stop. Like I'm saying, it was crazy to me, crazy. And based on what I see, people are asking if King knew, if the partner knew. Based on what I see, he says he didn't know. It's hard for me to tell because I don't know what his background or his history is, but if if you feel like if somebody is saying that that's their niece, I'm in my mind, I could see why you would have your niece around. Well, like if somebody came to you and was like, "Oh, this is my niece," and I don't really know your family like that, I'm just saying like it could have been I personally could have been like, "Oh my God, like maybe that is your niece." I don't know. You're not necessarily questioning that. But what gave weird was the jail phone call between him and King when he was saying, "Oh, get the phone from me." Like that was strange to me. That was strange. Now, I don't want to put that on no, I don't want to put that on that man because his testimony, I'm not going to lie, he seemed a little disgusted by Jarvis as well. That's just for me personally, but even the baby mother was like, once I found out that there was something going on, she was like, and to me, I don't know how I feel about the baby mother when she got on the stand. All I know is that she seemed irritated and she said that she didn't touch nothing and she wasn't covering nothing up for him. But even a phone call between him and the baby mother was strange in a jail call. And the fact that they ended that phone call with "I love you" to one another was strange to me. It's strange to me. I like how could you the BM, not Shannon, the other BM took the stand. The other baby mother took the stand, and what happened was he had borrowed he had borrowed the baby mother's car. So I'm telling y'all, I only know all of this because I watched this case in its entirety because I needed to understand what was happening. The other baby mother who he at the time he had a 2 year old with, he borrowed her car the night, I think the January 9th, the night of January 9th. He told her that he was going to take his son somewhere. She said, "Okay, you can use my car." Now, when he brought the car back, she definitely the he didn't bring it back till the next morning, which she said was weird. He doesn't usually do that. Now, when he brought the car back, he the next day something had happened or whatever, and she has an older son that is not his son. That the 7 year old was playing with some glasses in the back of the car. They were clear glasses that looked like they belonged to a child. The baby mother said she took the glasses from the little boy and said, "Why are you playing with those?" And then Jarvis saw the glasses and immediately snatched the glasses from the baby mother's hand and said that it belonged to he said that it belonged to his son. Now the defense of the person of Jarvis got on there and started questioning the baby mother and was like, "Oh, you've seen him wear safety glasses, or were those glasses prescription?" She had an attitude. She was like, "I don't know. How would I know I didn't put the glasses on my face? Like, I'm telling you, they were a kid's glasses if he said that they were for a child." Now, I will say she stood on business with the questioning. She was giving them like, "Are you dumb?" She very much gave, "Are you dumb? What don't you get?" But I also felt like she got a little weird when she started talking about how she didn't know about the other girls, but she also said that she did know. Her back and forth is weird to me because the way she was describing not knowing, it very much gave like, "Oh, I didn't know there was other women, but I was jealous." And then when the judge asked, or when the lawyer asked her about it, she was like, "Well, I was cheating too, so I wasn't mad." But you sound upset. You sound mad. You sound mad. It just gave mad. And so for me, it's like, and I don't know that she would have said anything if the little girl, if the police didn't come to her house to do an investigation. I don't think that she would have said anything. So to me, it's just weird. It's weird because you didn't think the situation is weird. It's weird because you seem complicit in all of this. It's weird because you still had a baby with this man. You had a baby with this man after he was already a registered sex offender. Let's keep it a bean. To me, either way, this shorty is weird. All of the baby mamas is weird. If I'm gonna keep it a bean, because y'all all knew that this man was a registered offender. All of the baby mothers. So for me, y'all all weird. Y'all all weirdos. It's all weird vibes to me because y'all had babies with this man, and it wasn't a secret that he was arrested. How could you knowingly be intimate with somebody who you know is a registered offender? That to me in and of itself is mind blowing. This is how I know that people be down for whatever. And to be honest, y'all don't care about kids and keeping kids safe. And she had another child. So you got this grown man in a space with your other child knowing that he's a registered offender and that there was allegations of him being involved with his own child, his own kid. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? And the grandmother very much knew what was going on. Y'all had this man in y'all crib. And we know that the man was in the crib because if you listen to the text messages, which I can't even, when I think about those text messages, I'm immediately nauseous. When you hear the text messages back and forth, this man was locked in with this little girl in a crib. They was in a crib together. There was one time where they were texting about him being upstairs with the aunt and wanting to come downstairs to the little girl. They had this man in the house with these kids, knowing that he was a registered offender. This is not new news. This is not new news. Y'all allowed this to happen. Every one of them needs to be placed under the jail. I don't care. They all need to go to jail. I really do. I believe that. I'm talking about the case with Naziah Harris, and I'm disgusted at the fact that the grandmother allowed this. I'm disgusted at the fact that the aunt allowed this. I'm disgusted. The whole thing to me is disgusting. That child was failed, and I truly believe I'm not accepting guests. I would, but I'm not going to be on for long because I have some work to do. But I truly believe that these people need to be placed under the jail immediately. They don't deserve anything good. I'm so tired of hearing about how people have failed children. I really hope that they all go to jail. At the very least, they need to not be allowed around kids. CPS should have taken their kids. The CPS should have taken their kids. When this whole thing happened, watching how they neglected to save this little girl should be enough to remove all of the kids from their home. They shouldn't be allowed around kids. I'm so disgusted. I'm mortified. I can't even tell y'all. And the thing is that I'm giving y'all too much, but I've been so invested in this case because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I couldn't imagine that this was allowed, that a 41-year-old man was able to get a 12-year-old pregnant. I needed to understand how this man was allowed around this 12-year-old for so long. I needed to understand how they were having meetups, how they were text messaging. I needed to understand it so much so that I was so invested in this whole case that I have not stopped watching it. And it has literally made me like, I can't sleep because it's so disgusting. I couldn't sleep watching this case because it's so disgusting. My heart hurts for kids. As somebody who's worked in foster care, I've worked in foster care and I've seen it happen to many of children being placed in care. I've watched children be come into foster care after being abused and their families allowing it and people making excuses. It be their own father and people still allowing these people around these children. It really disgusts me and I pray that I never wish death on nobody because I don't want no bad karma. But whatever happened to that man in jail, because people in jail don't play about that. They don't play about it. So whatever happens to that man in jail he deserves whatever happens to him in jail. And I pray that he gets the worst sentence of his life. I pray that they don't ever let that man out again because he shouldn't have been let out in the first place. He shouldn't have been let out in the first place. He should have he when they first knew that he was in any way interacting with a 13-year-old the first time, or his daughter, or whoever that child was, or those children were, he shouldn't have been let out of jail the first time. And this is the problem. These offenders come out of jail. People don't do their jobs. People are not and this is why I say that I believe that all of these people are responsible, because doing your job is to make sure that this man is not allowed children around children anymore. When he was released from jail the first time, which he shouldn't have been, He shouldn't have been allowed around children ever again. And this is all a result of people not doing their goddamn job. And that's just what it is. People not doing their job as parents, people not doing their job as adults to keep kids safe, people not doing their job that work for the state and the city, people not doing their job is what it comes down to. And I truly, everybody involved should be charged to some extent, should have some sort of consequences. That police officer who didn't do his job because he said he was retiring, they need to take his pension away. He shouldn't be allowed to get any more money. He shouldn't be allowed to collect his pension because you got on the stand and told the world that you didn't do a proper investigation for this little girl because you were retiring. Every single one of them. Every single one of them done for. I'm disgusted. I'm mortified. I can't believe that this is even playing out in front of us. I feel for the judge who had to sit through 5 days of listening to something so insane and has to remain impartial and has to then turn around and it just the whole thing was sick. The whole thing was sick. And even listening to the podcast, because you know how the algorithm works. Now that I'm so invested in the case, I keep hearing about the I keep hearing about the podcast that originally came out, and I'm so disgusted. I'm so disgusted. I'm disgusted at the fact that the family was trying to defend him. I'm disgusted at the fact that the aunt was having arguments with people on Facebook. When they showed the text messages from the aunt basically saying that the little girl was sneaky, the whole thing was just disgusting to me. It was disgusting. There was a podcast that came out and in Detroit. There's a guy, I don't know his name. It came across my timeline on TikTok, but look up the podcast. Look, if you type in, I'm sure if you type in Naziah Harris podcast, you'll see the podcast. The podcast is disgusting. The people got on the podcast. The cousins of the family were coming out in droves and saying that the family was basically covering up a bunch of stuff and that they weren't doing their due diligence and that child was not being protected and they knew about it. All of their family secrets were coming out on the podcast. People were calling up there to tell the truth about what they knew to have happened. It like all of it is there. I kid you not. If you listen to this podcast, you're going to be disgusted. You're also That's how I woke up disgusted, because it was one of the first things that I saw when I woke up this morning was the podcast, and I started listening to it because I couldn't keep my mind off of it. And yeah, 7 Mile podcast. And I was just so disgusted by what I was hearing. People were calling up there. They were trying to make excuses for the grandmother, for the aunt, for everybody. It was just disgusting. It turns out that people been knew that he was a registered offender. This wasn't new. It turns out that people were calling up there complaining about how the grandmother refused to speak. She refused to get on a podcast and to talk, and all of that. Like it just is disgusting. And I advise y'all go, look into the podcast and listen to everything that happened. But I don't think her bio mother spoke out. A lot of people are saying that the bio mother has taken a step back but they did say that the bio mother, if you listen to the podcast and listen to people speaking, they said that the bio mother, it's called 7 Mile Podcast, I think people were saying, but just type in Naziah Harris podcast and you probably see it. But a lot of people were saying that the biological mother was one of the first people to go out and start asking about her daughter and her whereabouts and all that other stuff, but she didn't want to be in the limelight. But apparently the the no, just type it in on TikTok. But apparently the mother also had something similar happen to her when she was Naziah's age at at her mother's house. So she also has her own trauma from when she was a kid, which is partially why she doesn't have her kid. Is her kids is what they're saying. And remember, there was an older brother, and the older brother also ran away from that home, which lets you know that the home wasn't a good place in general. The older brother, Naziah's older brother, Ben ran away, and 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 it was being said that they talked bad about that little girl, the aunt who had the baby mother of Jarvis. It was said that she was talking about the little girl hair and how she was too fast and how the little girl didn't have good hair and how the little girl was not that cute. It was all kind of stuff that came out, but it was crazy. It was crazy. Like and people, and yes, she should have been placed with the grandmother. And the biological father, Naziah's biological father, has passed away. And but before he passed away, he said that he basically Naziah was a result of him cheating. which doesn't make him right because you also should have taken care of your child even if you cheated. But I guess he kept it under wraps and he was only around financially, but he didn't I in my opinion, you didn't do anything to save her either, but I guess he stepped in once he found out his daughter was missing, but then he had heart congestion failure or something like that and he passed away. But the whole thing to me is very much giving trafficking, is very much giving like this little girl was failed. She was set up for failure at birth. That little girl was set up for failure at birth. The day she was born is the day that they set her up for failure, and nobody did anything to save her. And my heart is broken for her. My heart is also broken for a lot of kids. I saw somebody say that they had a similar experience. My heart is with you because there's not, I can't, I can't be clear enough that things like this don't go away. Like it doesn't people don't just forget about these things that happen to them. They don't just magically one day wake up and they're fine. Like this is something that haunts people forever. And a lot of times in a lot of families, people will blame the child for participating, which I don't a child cannot willingly or consent or participate in something like that. But a lot of times people blame children for things like this, and a child has to go and a child has to be the face of something bad or is not being protected or has to endure this traumatic experience and has someone who and a child who is looking for love, a child who's looking for love is a vulnerable child. And if they're not receiving love at home, which is clear to me that that little girl was not receiving any love at home. The grandmother, the aunt, nobody was showing her love. And when a child is looking for love, sometimes children will find love in places that are dangerous because a child needs to be loved. That's all children want. So the idea that people are going through this and there are children who are just looking for love, I say keep your kids close. Keep them away from people. Love on your kids. Give them what they need. Do not blame your kids for things that happen to them. Understand that a child is not at fault for anything like that. Please pay attention to the people that are around your kid, whether or not it's your person that you know or if it's somebody that you know. Um, and they're around somebody who's unsafe, please keep y'all children safe. Y'all need to verify everybody that's around your children. Make sure that you are triple checking if you even feel suspicious. If you I don't care if it's the child's father. I don't care if it's the child's mother. I don't care if it's the child's aunt. If you feel an inkling of suspicion about a person, believe that suspicion. Tap into your gut feeling. Believe that it's true. Act as though it's true. I don't care. It doesn't matter. There's too many kids out here who suffer because people are not responsive enough. And to be honest, a lot of times, if you put a person on blast, you can save a child's life because maybe they're thinking about it, but you could prevent it just by stepping in and letting them know that you think that something weird is going on. You know what I'm saying? And in every instance, you should believe your child. The child not there's not many instances that the child is lying. You know what I'm saying? So I treat everyone like they're suspicious. I don't care if it's family. I don't care who it is. Around children, I don't play about that. I don't play about that. Everybody's suspicious to me because a child is a child. A child is a child. A child cannot defend themselves. Children need adults to defend them. So at every moment, in every space, at every time, I'm gonna treat a child as such. Y'all, and I hope that y'all do the same. There's too many kids out here who are in the system or who have had negative experiences. Thank you for the gifts and are put in these situations simply because people don't believe them and people not looking out for them. And even if it's not your child, even if it's not your child, you still need to be paying attention. And as humans, as adults, it is our job to keep kids safe, whether or not it's our kid. I don't care if I don't know the kid. I don't care if I don't know that child. If it's a child, then we need to keep children safe. I hope that people are watching and are paying attention to their kids. I hope that anybody who is involved in anything like this or has had an experience like this gets what they need. And I'm praying for y'all. I'm praying for that little girl. And listen, report it report it. And if CPS ain't, and let me tell y'all something, as somebody who worked for the system and in the system, if CPS ain't doing nothing, report them too. Report them as well. Okay? Report them as well. Everybody. I love y'all. I gotta go because I got some things to do, but I need to get that off the chest because my heart has been broken about this all day, all night. For the past like few days, I've been watching this court. And you know, it just is too much. But love y'all. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. Protect those kids, please and thank you. And I'll see y'all on the flip side.